Marks become very synonymous child's identity, leading to a sense of failure and disappointment. The American Psychological Association, in its 2020 report, mentions that 61% of students struggling with immense pressure. In fact, we've seen a 30% increase in the students who come to us for counseling support.
When I was a young girl, going back to school was always about so much excitement and so much anticipation. According to a UNICEF report of 2022, there is a growing mental health crisis amongst children and adolescents. The Narayana Educational Institutions, with a legacy of 45 years, are truly committed to nurturing your dreams into reality. Because at Narayana, your dreams are our dreams. Hello and welcome to Guidecast, an initiative by Narayana Educational Institutions. I am your hostess, Shezi, trying her mostest to bring to you the whys, the whats, and the hows of issues related to the physical, emotional, and mental well being of our students, of our children, and how parents can help. I am truly fortunate to introduce you to Vijay Lakshmi ma'am, Chief Welfare Officer at Narayana. She has over 25 years of experience designing interventions addressing behavioral challenges. Out of those 25 years, 18 years are specifically dedicated to the education sector, where ma'am has worked with students ranging from the age group of KG to PG. With such a strong base in psychology, she also applies principles and practices of applied behavioral sciences like transactional analysis to design effective mental health programs for employees and students in her capacity as Chief Welfare Officer at Narayana. We're very thrilled to have you here with us, Vijay Lakshmi ma'am.
Thank you, Shazi.
Before we dive in, ma'am, can you tell us a little bit about Disha?
Disha program is an initiative of the Narayana Group to provide holistic development to its student community. At the Narayana Group, we believe that academic success is only a part of the student's development. And as part of the Disha initiative, we also provide support system to its parents and educators too. Since the inception in 2017, where we've initially started with residential campuses in Hyderabad and Bangalore, we've slowly expanded to our Chennai and Vizag campuses by the year 2018, covering approximately 3,500 group sessions in a year. In the last 1 year, we were able to cover 3 lakh students plus. And in this process, we had nearly 15,000 students who's reached out to us for individual support.
Ma'am, our conversation today is going to revolve around returning to school for the new academic year. The statistics paint a very clear picture, ma'am. In fact, when you look at adolescents particularly, they're experiencing a great amount of anxiety, ma'am. Why is that so?
There are several factors contributing to this stress. Now, especially if you're talking about the adolescent students, there is an immense pressure to perform well and score high. They feel that this is an attributing factor which adds to their self esteem. And on top of that, the societal expectations and the education system also contributes to this existing stress. In fact, the American Psychological Association, in its 2020 report, mentions that 61% of students are struggling with immense pressure to get good grades. In fact, we've seen a 30% increase in the students who come to us for counseling support. In fact, the data was less before the pandemic, where it was reported to be 12% of academic stress then.
That itself is so alarming that it clearly looks like it's on the rise, right? Ma'am, what else contributes to this anxiety?
Most of the time, stress appears to be academic related, but there are other several factors which contributes to this stress. Especially for teenagers, while they're growing up, in this age and time, adolescent kicks in, bringing in a gamut of hormones that they're struggling with.
And ma'am, society is not exactly kind, no, to these poor, sweet teenagers.
Yeah, Shizi, society can be cruel because that is where the expectations for the child increase. Now, with the advent of the social media, it is no less, it's doing more harm where the child is in constant comparison with the others. They see an improvised version of their friends, and then this makes them feel even more inadequate.
Hmm.
And on top of that, parents also knowingly or unknowingly, they increase that expectation.
Ma'am, and in this storm of issues, the parent child relationship would be getting affected, no?
Yes, it definitely does. You know what? When the child is becoming an adolescent, it's quite natural for them to become distant. And why do they do this? Is it is at that point in time where they're trying to seek independence, they're trying to seek autonomy in the quest to form an identity of their own. Unfortunately, the parents are not aware of this, and they see only the external behavior where the child is becoming more independent, they're not listening to them. They try to be overprotective by controlling. Most of these beliefs, they come from the parents' own insecurities, their own fears. The words that we say, they become the internal self talk of the child. For example, if the parent completely, all the time says, you can't do this, or, it's very difficult, you're too young. So the child it doesn't grow in his own head, and he constantly looks for someone to make choices for him. So, what do you think is working? As parents, are you okay with your child to fail now and learn from this, or inequip the child through his adulthood?
How can parents be more understanding when it comes to, really helping children manage and really reduce their anxiety?
So, first and foremost, from a parenting approach, majority of us, we model our parents. We try and exactly do, what our parents treated us. So, as parents, if we want to improve or if we want to be better at it, first and foremost is we need to come out of the traditional parenting approaches. For instance, parents can work on building connection rather than controlling. When you're talking to your child, instead of saying, hey, why don't you do your homework? It could be a simple approach like, I know you have a lot of work to do. Why don't we sit together and then plan maybe a 30-minute study time? And if you're okay with it, and you can have, maybe we can plan about the break time. So, what is happening, in this tone and then in this conversational style, the child is feeling included and he feels respected. I'm reminded of a case that we've had from one of our Vizag campus where, the child comes to us saying that, planned a big birthday party for my grandmother, which was a surprise. And I organized everything. And when my father came to the party, you know what he's done? First thing, instead of appreciating and acknowledging my effort, he criticized the choice of the cake. And when we shared this feeling with the parent, he was surprised. He was like, what I've reacted was it was a spontaneous reaction, but I didn't know that this was the extent to which my child can get affected. Right? So that is how parents unknowingly can affect the
Yeah,
child.
a lot of times parents are not even aware of what they're doing.
And one more thing, establishing boundaries is also very important. And while establishing, both the parties, the parent and child will have to be in agreement.
Hmm.
For instance, rather than the parent coming out and saying, you need to be home by 8 o'clock, that is your curfew time, instead agreeing on, why don't we agree? What do you think is an appropriate time? And if both the child and the parent agrees, like let's say, okay, 9 o'clock, and if you have anything, maybe you can ring out to me and then let me know you need another half an hour or 1 hour. So what happens while establishing this is the child is feeling included and he is feeling understood, and he is also in the process of decision making, so he honors what he's committed to. So these are small things, where as per the culture, as per the family norms, the parent and child can sit together and then agree, okay, what are the things that we can do, and this helps in better parent child connect.
I know parents are trying, but a lot of parents are still struggling. In such a scenario, what would your advice be to these parents, ma'am?
Parenting is definitely a very tough job, I would say, Chizzy. What happens is when they're struggling, rather than just continue the struggles and try to figure out the ways by itself, it's always good to seek a professional help. The counselors or the therapist speak with both the parties and then help them build better connections and navigate through the journey.
Okay, ma'am, it's my favorite part of the episode. It is myth debunking time. A lot of times I have heard people say, oh, it's just their age, it's a phase. They'll snap out of it or they'll grow out of it. What do you have to say about that, ma'am?
They might or they might not, we can't be sure.
Mm.
I'll give you an example. If we are pushing a child in the pool, he will eventually get out of it, right? But what happens? There is, he moves his hands, legs, and all that. And in all of this process, there's so much struggle that the child is going through, right? And this can add as a baggage that, he's going to carry for a lifetime. Whereas if you have someone who's guiding the child to swim, giving them the techniques, right, how, what is right or, what is working for them, but the child is actually enjoying the experience and then he is growing out of it in a better way. So for parents, it's up to them, right? What do they want to do?
This has been such an enlightening conversation. I want to wrap it up by asking you a few questions that have come in from our parents. So, the first question is that I think that the trust between my child and I has broken due to my overprotective parenting. How do I fix it?
So over here, while the parent thinks that the trust is gone, trust can also be reconstructed.
Yeah.
A duty of a parent is to protect. And in this case, the parent can start working on the overprotectiveness. So, in this process, the parent can reflect on, in the tendency to overprotect, what were the things that were overlooked. For instance, the cheetah mother sets clear rules and boundaries while growing up. This allows the cubs the essential survival skills. At the same time, the cheetah also gives us the warmth and guidance. So children who grow up in a protective environment, they become confident individuals. They have better coping mechanisms and their esteem is also high. And in all of this process, the father cheetah, he also teaches the survival skills, making them even more confident.
Vijayalakshmi ma'am, I think we have kickstarted this podcast on an amazing note, and this episode has given me, for sure, a lot of opportunities to reflect on how we can better shape our parenting style.
You're right, Shizzy. After all, someone has said, one is not born, but rather one becomes.
Do you want to give a little sneak peek into our next episode?
Another major struggle most of the children come to us is handling friendships. So maybe in our next talk, let's talk about how parents can help the children navigate through friendships.
In fact, if you have any questions regarding this next episode of ours, you may email us on the email ID mentioned below. And with that, I think we're all set to wrap up this episode of Guidecast, an initiative by Narayana Educational Institutions. Thank you for joining Guidecast, where we are dedicated to helping you understand and support your child's journey to success and fulfillment. With insights from Disha, the mental wellness program by Narayana Educational Institutions, a beacon of educational excellence for over 4 decades, we aim to empower parents and students alike. Remember, at Narayana, your dreams are our dreams.